Yeah. No, they have different world.
Welcome everyone to committee meetings for Wednesday, February 7th. We have 3 special committee meetings tonight that will take priority. And we'll start off with the Special Public Works Committee first. What's that?
I call Public Works to order at 6 p.m. We have one proposed action item, 4 bids for authorizing contract Catskill Point Shoreline Stabilization Project.
Martinez.
Handle.
Martinez and Handle, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried. Is there anything else to bring before Public Works?
That's not Mr. Chairman. Entertain a motion for adjournment.
Second it.
Martinez and Buelich, we are closed.
Good job.
Take care. Where are we going down the West River? First case. Mr. Chairman.
It'll be a little bit late. All right, Charlie, you're up.
I am.
Special Finance.
Okay, Special Finance Committee meeting, awarding bid authorizing contract, Catskill Point Shoreline Stabilization Project. I'd like to enter that.
I'd like to second it.
Overball leg. With seconds?
Anybody else like to second it?
Second that. Sure.
Overwork. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, that's carried. Anything else come before Special Finance?
Motion to close.
Close, thank you. That was short.
I need a second and then close.
I'll second.
Thank you.
And call special legislation meeting number 1 for the year 2024 to order and ask everyone to drive from the side. Thank you. Join me in pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mr. Chairman, all legislators are present with the exception of legislator Rivera.
Right into the single resolution on the agenda for tonight.
Resolution number 56-24, awarding bid and authorizing contract Catskill Point Shoreline Stabilization Project, moved by legislator Martinez, and seconded by legislator Handle.
Second, or no? Good. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Roll call.
Says roll call.
Is it?
What says?
Your roll call.
Let's say roll.
Get yourself.
There.
Understand. Not a dig.
Legislator Buelich,
Aye.
legislator Davis,
All right.
legislator Handle. Aye. Legislator Hobart,
Aye.
legislator Lang,
Aye.
legislator Lennon,
Yes.
legislator Lucas,
Aye.
legislator, well, Rivera is absent, so that counts as a no. Legislator Martinez.
Yes.
Legislator Overbaugh.
Yes.
Legislator Dorrington,
Yes.
legislator True,
Aye.
Legislator Blumer,
Yes.
and Chairman Linger.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, we have 9,382 yeses and 1 absent, which is 618.
Carries, thank you. Start big, Warren. And as that is the only agenda item that was advertised for the special committee meeting, we are adjourned. We'll move to regular committee meetings in 1 minute.
Good evening, everybody. Opening up Health Services Committee meeting at 6:06 p.m. Last meeting, we talked about the Oxford House. So Jason Frittenberg, Community Services Director, is going to speak briefly about that.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me. I understand there were some questions about the Oxford House proposal, so I wanted to make myself available for that, but I also just thought I'd give you just a quick synopsis of what we were thinking about with this and why this seemed like a good option. As we know, there's there is a serious problem with addiction within the county. We hear a lot about the opioid epidemic and the opioid problem in the county, but of course it's broader than that. Actually, the drug of abuse that's most widely used and problematic the most is actually alcohol. It's just that the opioids are actually the most deadly, but it's a widespread problem. And of course, there are also issues around housing, people finding affordable housing, homeless housing. But when you have people that are in early recovery, it's especially hard for those folks to find suitable housing that would be promoting, that would allow them, that would promote their ongoing sobriety and recovery. So finding sober housing is really very, very difficult. So we started to hear about an organization called Oxford House, which is a non-for-profit organization. It's been around since the 1970s. And they have a model that seems to be working very well. They have over 2,000 houses across the United States right now using this model. And the way it works is that it's a model for sober housing, and it follows 3 basic tenets. The first is that the houses are democratically self-run by the residents that are residing there. So they make decisions together about the house itself. The second is that the house has to be fully self-supported as well. So each of the residents that are in the house have to have an income, have to be working, have to be able to contribute to cover the rent and the utilities of the house. And then the third basic tenet is that there's a zero tolerance policy for any alcohol or drug use. So if anyone does relapse, they're immediately expelled from the house as well. So those are the core values that this model is built around. And the way it works is that for an initial fee of $180,000, an outreach worker would be hired by the Oxford House organization, who is responsible for finding a house, signing the lease, getting the house furnished, and then building relationships in the community to gather any referrals for the residents themselves. The talk that we've had so far is to actually split this with Columbia County. So for that initial fee of $180,000, in addition to hiring people, they start 2 houses. So the way this would work is each county would pay $90,000 and 1 house would be started in each county. After that first year, the annual fee is $140,000, so it would be $70,000 each county. And again, that pays basically the person's salary, administrative expenses, stuff like that. Otherwise, the houses themselves are supported by the residents. So this seemed to be a great opportunity to be using some of the opioid dollars that are coming in from the settlements, to be able to use that money to try this model out, to not have to spend 180 and commit to 2 houses in our county, but it seemed like a great way to ease into this. At any point in the future, additional houses would be added for $20,000. So if Columbia County wanted to add another house, they pay $20,000. If they wanted another house, we pay $20,000, and they will go ahead and start another house. The annual fee remains the same after that. So this was a plan that we thought would really address, would really fill a gap in the community. We know, we've spoken to the people that we think would be the most common referral sources, and we're quite confident that there would be more than enough referrals. There's quite a need for this in the community. So that's the basic rundown, but I understand there were questions, but.
How many people does this help per year?
Yeah, so it depends on the size of the house. Typically, most houses are like around 5 or 6 beds, but if they happen to have a house that is bigger, they could go bigger than that as well.
And what's the turnover? Are they there for a year? Are they there for 2 years? What's the longevity of a person's?
Yeah, it's a great question. There's actually no time limit in the Oxford House model. So someone could be there for a few months and then get on their feet and get out into the community, or they could be there for a year or 2. There's no limit on that.
What's the average? I mean, you said there's 2,000 houses. So how many people does this help average a year, according to all the models that you have?
Yeah, I don't know that off the top of my head. I don't know if I have that statistic handy right here, but I can look into it and I can get back to you with that.
And you say it's $20,000 for additional. So the first year it's 90,000 for Greene. The second year it's 70,000. So say this program's going well and we're saying, Jesus is great. So it's $20,000 to add another house, right? For the following year. But then for the 2 houses after that, it's still only 70,000.
Correct. Yep. So it's basically, the first year is basically the annual fee of 140 plus 20 for each of the 2 houses. That equals to 180 after that.
But the 20,000 is a one-time pay.
For the house, correct. Yes.
So I would like to know the statistics on
Okay.
the success rate and, turnover.
Okay.
The other thing I'd also like to find out is, okay, so there are folks that would fail out, let's say. It's just hanging around town, what happens, and how responsible are we for all of them? They become
Right.
homeless and now we've got,
Yeah. Well, without this house, those people we're already dealing with those people. Those are people that are already, if they're already relapsing, they're already, many of them are homeless. I know that through DSS, I know that Kyra has told us she's a great number of people that are in early recovery, trying to get clean, are able to work, but they don't have a place to live, or they keep getting put in the motels, which just is, just continues the cycle. So we're already dealing with those people. This would be a place for them, for a handful of them.
Okay. Thank you.
So how do you pick the people? Say you have 5 people, but you have 100 applicants.
Yeah.
How do you pick the 5 people that are gonna be in the house?
My understanding is that's part of what it means by being a democratically run house. Once there are people there, they would vote on, if they have 3 applicants and 1 opening, they would be voting on who they accept. That's one of the things that they vote on.
But to start off for the first 5 people, how do you decide if there were 100 applicants? Who and how do we decide which 5 are the first ones that would count?
Well, it's not something that we would be doing, but that's something that the outreach worker, that person that's hired by Oxford House, that's part of their role. They're managing these houses, so they would be doing that.
Jason, have you gone and seen one of these houses in action?
I haven't seen one in action. I have spoken to all of my counterparts, all of the director of community services in each of the upstate counties that have it. So Dutchess, Orange, Niagara, and Erie County, they all have them. 3 of those counties have multiple Oxford houses in them. And they've all had very positive experiences so far with the programs, both the ones that they're supporting and they're, in some of the counties, like in, I believe it's Orange County, they're actually supported by an anonymous donor. They don't know who's supporting it, but that's where the money's coming from. But the DCS has had interactions and they've had very positive experiences.
The second question is, when some applicant gets to get into this house, then does that end Greene County's, say, probation oversight of that person, say because that person may have had some legal issues where now probation monitors them? Does that end the county's involvement in the monitoring of some people?
No, because this isn't really a county house. It's not really a county-run house. This is just, the only connection to the county is that we would be using some of the opioid dollars to fund it. It's Oxford House's responsibility. And I think for your example, that would really depend on the person themselves and where they're coming from, what situation they're coming from. Are they on probation? It might not be someone that's on probation at all. It might be someone that's in the halfway house that's run by Twin Counties. They're ready to be discharged, but they don't have anywhere to go. And they can't discharge anyone to homeless housing. So sometimes people get quote unquote stuck in their residential program because there's no place for them to go. This would provide an opportunity for that. And what that also does in the system is then by opening up the back door, letting people out, then it allows new people to come into the residence as well. So it would fit with the whole system.
Well, I guess is once these people are if there had been previous oversight by county agencies of these people,
Yeah.
will that oversight end?
It would depend on the agency. If they're on probation,
Yeah,
that would continue.
No,
If they're in our services, that would continue. The only thing that might continue is if they're receiving some sort of benefit or service through DSS or something like that.
if they have a probationary period, we have to continue the
Yes.
probationary
This would just be
period.
the.
Oh, yeah.
However, the court has imposed upon it.
All it is just a sober house.
Right, well, I just didn't know this coordinator who's gonna be getting paid that kind of money.
Right.
I didn't know if they're the actual ones that take over and see all this and, keep an eye on things that way, that's all.
Are they staffed at all these houses?
This, the coordinator is the one that oversees the local ones. And then, again, part of being democratically self-run, they elect internally who's gonna be like the house. And that's kind of a common model for a lot of halfway houses as well. Sometimes there's someone, which is often, actually, it works into their treatment and their recovery, taking on the responsibilities. Step.
So there's not a employee of Oxford House that's at the house all the time?
Correct.
So, and that coordinator role, I believe, is like the house manager that would pay the utilities, make sure that they're coordinating with the landlord that owns, because they're not purchasing the house, they're renting the house. Making sure that the rent is paid, that everything's, rent is getting collected from the tenants, that, they're the one that is coordinating all of those efforts. If they have a vacancy, making sure that that self-run committee is going out and finding new like they're gonna go solicit the tenant referrals, they're gonna facilitate that process to make sure that they're filling out the vacancies, things like that. So that is their role as that coordinator. So that's what you're paying that person to do, is to make sure that they're keeping, the ship running, more or less.
So is there a seniority?
Sorry?
Is there a seniority, like say, out of those 100 people that are, so somebody just moved into Greene County yesterday, as opposed to somebody that's lived in the county for 10, 15 years, needs to help. How does that work? Are we actually helping people that are Greene County residents, or can anybody just flock to our county and all of a sudden become part of this program?
Right. There's no, I don't think that's written into their specific model or their contract, from what I understand. What I can tell you is that I think there's such a need for this in the county, that I think that those beds are gonna be filled.
Well, I know that,
consistently.
but as you know, in the past, people will just move into the county because they can get services. And my only concern would be, are we gonna be drawing people into the county for this service and not service to people that are from our county?
Right, I agree, I share the same concern. What my approach would be is like, my role as DCS, I would be working with this person and try to collaborate with them and try to impress upon them the importance that we need to be serving. You know, we want these people, we want this to serve residents, we want it to be people that are in recovery, that are taking steps forward, working in the county, you know, serving the county. So I can't put that, they can't put that in their
Right, I
in their
mean,
bylaws.
if we're gonna provide this service, it should go to our county residents, not people that flock in for this service from other counties.
I
Yeah, I would think that could be somehow written into the bylaws that the referrals for this house only come from the county.
Yeah, I've talked to them about that, and they, you know, they have the same for all their houses, and they can incorporate that. But as I've said, you know, I feel like I've talked to them, talked about this at length, is that I see it as my role to try to keep the connections between the referral sources and that, as you know.
So any of the counties that you mentioned, have you talked to anybody, has there been a relapse reduction in those counties? Is it a shorter list now than what they had before the program? Or is it just kind of a steady stream?
Yeah, I don't know that. I don't know if that would be, I don't know if it would be, even if a place has even if a county has 3 houses, that's, you know, roughly, not many. 15 people, so I don't know how that would factor into statistics around relapse. I think it's an interesting question, but I don't know that, but I'm happy to talk to them. Find out. Sure.
I'd be interested to know if these places that are already existing have actually made a noticeable difference somewhere.
Yeah.
Or somebody sees a reduction.
Or on the housing side too, people have to housing, yeah.
Well, I did speak to the former Dutchess County executive, who happens to be our current congressman. He actually said that the Oxford House is better than most that's out there.
Yeah.
So they are pretty rep.
Are you allowed to review their data too, to see their successes and?
I mean, they've been very open.
Okay, all right.
About it. So,
Do you have areas that you're focusing in on, like where the first house would go? We have some property in Caro.
The main thing, no, not specifically, but the main thing would be the needs, right? People that are in early recovery, they want to be working, they might not have transportation. So it would have to be close to resources.
Yeah, that's what perfect.
Where?
So basically, just instead of getting 2 houses in one county, it's 2 separate counties before into one house, or it's really half the cost for either county.
Yeah, for us to try to do it.
To start it off.
Are any of them court ordered? None of those places?
You know, I don't know about people being court ordered to be there. It could be people that are, you know, out of jail and are on parole or probation or something. I mean, there's no rules around that, or something like that. The main thing is people that are sober and trying to stay sober. Other questions? Anything else?
Interesting concept.
The website is good. There's a lot of information if you want to check out the website for Oxford House, and it talks all about their longstanding model. So,
Jason, while you're up here, since you're here, I see there's also a new program out of Twin Counties over at Texas, actually, it's Catholic Charities.
okay, yeah. So, and there's-
Sort of thing. Is that something that is even being looked at for here? We do a lot of that now on our own.
Yeah.
In different departments, we hand out our hands to the sheriff's department and public health. And I'm just wondering how far that goes.
You know, no one's approached me about doing that yet in the county.
Glad to hear it. Actually.
You know, it is the you know, there's evidence that shows that this is what's helpful to stabilize. That's why it's happening. That's why it's so widespread. Maybe the idea of making it available is down, but I also understand your.
Yeah, I don't know, I like to give them, I'm not usually inside of the it's only 4/7. And I don't know, you know, it's not just your department, it's more, it's the sheriff's department, it's kind of all together, they're combating this, so I could, point to it.
Thank you, Jay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next, we have the Director of the Hudson Valley National Center for Veteran Reintegration Program to give us a brief update.
With an assistant.
Sorry, I had my daughter with me.
It's a hit or miss. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate you all taking the time to have me. If you don't know, I'm Aaron Vandermark. I'm the program manager for Vet to Vet of Greene County. And I just wanted to go through what we do up there on a weekly basis. I think that last time I was up here is when I was introducing myself, taking the job. So it's been a while. So we've opened the doors about a year and a half ago. You guys have the slide, I hope, on your screen. I can run through it, just what we have, the programs we have offering up there. So I'll run through the weekly, our days. Our very first program that we got started up there was coffee hour at the library. Okay, so as you all know, we're out of the mental health building, and myself and Anthony DeRico back there opened up the shop, and we just weren't getting veterans. We had programs up there, flyers, and we were naming them PTSD groups, support groups, and that. So me and Anthony had to put our heads together and figure out what's the deal. Why aren't these veterans reaching out to us? So we both came up with the idea of just simply changing the name. Instead of PTSD groups, call it something more like a coffee hour. And that kind of takes away the stigma of veteran issues. So we, actually the Cairo Library reached out to us and wanted to learn about our program. Deborah, she was the manager. Yep. And we started talking, and she offered up her community room there. So that's where it all began. We started on Monday mornings, and we went from seeing no veterans to our first group was about 13, 14 veterans. And it just went on from there. So that was our very first program that we started. And then we evolved into a veteran and family support group on Tuesdays. So we just wanted a group to for the family members and the veterans. So we hold that every Tuesday at our office at 1 p.m. Sometimes we'll have one veteran, sometimes we have a family member and 5, 6 veterans in that group at one time. So that's changes every Tuesday. And then we have Kim Linden back here. She started with us, she's an Army veteran. She started with us in October, and we got together and we felt the need to start a woman veteran group. And actually it came to my mind because we had a woman walk into our coffee hour and she said, "Is there any other women?" And it was all men. So we do have women come to the group, but at that time it was all men. So she felt a little intimidated and I didn't see her again. So as soon as Kim came on board, we came up with like, let's hit the ground running with this women's support group. So that's up and running. That's virtual on Tuesdays. It was 7 to 8. We just changed the time to 5 to 6. And then Thursdays, we go to the nursing homes, the 5 nursing homes here. We felt the need to visit the veterans that are residing there. And we've been doing that since we started. And then we just recently added the Home Sweet Homes, and we visit there. So the reason being is there's veterans there that don't see family members. They're lonely. Some of them, it's their last, they're not leaving.
Right.
So a matter of fact, today I received a card from a widow thanking us for visiting her husband, who we found out passed away through the card, and recently passed away. So so it really it's a need. And then we started a group on Fridays, a veterans writing group. So that's been up and running, I think, since the end of September, and that's doing pretty good. We do that at the Cairo Library, and it's a good way for the veterans to come and instead of talking, they write it on the paper, and it's very therapeutic for them. So that's an ongoing project we're working on. So those are our weekly programs. Some upcoming events, we just had a bowling families right here in Catskill. So we plan on doing that monthly because that seems to be a big hit. And I actually work with veterans providing peer support that have severe social anxiety, like they don't leave their house. And one particular veteran I work with, he went from a recluse, like staying in his home, never going out. And now I have him coming to our coffee hours, our support groups, and now he's in bowling. So he's coming out to bowling and socializing. So not only is it good for the families, members, and the kids to get out and doing it, but it's also helpful to kind of help the veterans that sit at home and isolate themselves to socialize with other veterans. We did a few veteran breakfasts over in the past. We're bringing that back. And I work with the legions and around the area, and they're pretty helpful, and they help us put the event on and let us use their facility. So that's coming, date to be determined. We're looking in April. And then Kim Linden back there, she's planning a women's veteran event. In Athens, American Legion was offered their facility. So we have a tentative date in April on that, but we're just working out the logistics and then we'll officially put that date out. Future programs in work. Wellness program. So we started a wellness program during the summer on Wednesdays. We did walks around various parks in Greene County. Wednesday or Tuesdays would come out. It started kind of dropping off as the weather started turning into fall. So we're going to relook that program and try to come up with more of a some type of yoga, incorporate the walks, and we're really going to revamp that program to make it even better than what we did last year. I'm also looking at doing a veteran luncheons.
Got the pavilion right there.
Right.
The park.
Right. So that, and I take some coordination. I'm gonna go out and talk to some venues and see if they're willing to sponsor it, and if they're willing to, there's space big enough to seat large crowd. So I'm looking at doing that quarterly. I was thinking monthly, but I need to see what we get when we bring that up.
Don't forget, we have the historic Catskill Point, because Ray Brooks always brought a lot of veterans there.
Yeah, we had the luncheon every year.
So that might be a possibility too.
So the bowling tournament you had, Matt, myself, and Sherry went, was we were impressed. You had a nice crowd, and I think that's only gonna grow.
Yeah.
Obviously, when the word gets out, you had plenty of pizza.
Yeah,
Drink.
yeah, plenty of pizza.
A lot of people had fun.
Yeah, it's a good fun event.
Nice.
Yeah. And thanks to you guys for giving us this Spienberg grant. I was unable to make it that night that you presented it to us. We are working on starting this caregiver support program. So what we have started so far is we went in and created a private Facebook group for specifically for caregivers, veterans to join. And I'm doing some research out there because there's I didn't realize what a need it was for this and the more research I'm finding, it covers such a wide variety of different type of caregivers. What I've been finding is caregivers of veterans with dementia, missing limbs, TBIs, you name it. So it's more of a program that I have to build to accommodate all the different types of ailments that a caregiver give. It's the veteran that the caregiver is taking care of. So that's up and coming. I'm doing the research. I'm trying to find some type of training that is out there that we could take so we can receive, you know, the proper information and training so we can support that. And then the few things that we worked on and that we're going to improve come springtime and into the summer is last year at the last minute we built 3 garden boxes, 5x5 garden boxes, and we planted vegetables in the garden. So we grew cherry tomatoes, cucumbers, zucchinis, and we were giving them to the veterans. We would bring them to the coffee hour and they would take whatever they needed, and whatever was left over, we were bringing them down to the community action fridge and dropping them off there. So I'm hoping that with more time, I can get a few veterans involved that are willing to help us maintain these gardens, because that was the problem we had, is maintaining them. That's something we just started spur of the moment, I think it was May or June, and with the help of Amanda back there, she hooked me up with a social worker that was able to give me the baby plants, so we didn't have to start from the seed. So I think that's going to be a really good program. I just need to find a couple of volunteers willing to come and help us maintain it. And also, me and Anthony attended Ascendance, the factory warehouse in Kasaki. They reached out to us for a job fair. So we had met with them, did their open house, and if I were to have a veteran in need of a job right away, there's a process where I can refer them to them, and they will guarantee an interview. And they don't guarantee the job, they guarantee the interview. And what they'll even go even further is, if the person doesn't get the job for whatever reason, they'll give us feedback on what that veteran has to work on. So that was a good resource that we recently picked up a few months ago. And that's pretty much what I got, depending anyone.
That's it.
I mean, I could go on forever about this. I love my job here, so.
Are you doing anything with the youth fair?
So this year we will have a table at the youth fair. Okay. Last year we kind of missed it, we didn't have a table. So yeah, we plan on being out there. The first year I was out there. I linked up with the veteran service first year. So yes, we will do that. And we do attend any kind of veteran stand downs, or we do table that. So Senator Hinchy had her outreach at the Elks Lodge. We tabled that. Columbia Greene did their veteran stand down. We get on it. So whenever there's an opportunity for us to set up a table and spread the word, we're there. And that's our biggest thing too, is we're just trying to continue to get the word out, because I still run into veterans that, oh, we never knew you were down there. So another great resource is we created a email distro, and I briefed the mental health staff on our program a few months ago, and we saw a little uptick of more veterans coming in. So social media, we rely on that heavily, and so pending anybody's questions.
Do you have any contact information? I'd like to share, some of the things you're doing. How would someone get in touch with you?
Okay, so I have, I do have an email and a phone number.
Do you have a Facebook and all or no?
We have a Facebook, yes.
Tag the Facebook page, but some people.
Yeah, so our Facebook page, I believe, is vet2vet Greene County NY. So we do spread the word on that, and
I can send the contact information for Aaron and the rest of the staff through the whole email that went out from Tammy and Kevin.
That would be good. We can at least share this with people and get the word out.
I took a note, we're gonna push it out to.
Perfect.
and also one thing that has been very helpful too is I also send a social worker at the VA clinic who covers works at Catskill our flyers too. And I have seen a few veterans that were referred from them to us. So we have people out there, professionals that are advocating for us and sending veterans our way. So good stuff to come. I think if we talk about it all the time. From the day one we opened those doors, and we just found pictures. I wish I would have found them sooner of like what it looked like when we walked in that space to what it looks like now. We have couches and it's very welcoming, and we have a little media room that we're building up for veterans that need help with the internet or accessing, setting up accounts with the VA and stuff like that. We're there to assist them on that.
So, quick story for you. Ran into two individuals. They both had pretty much the same story. It was Monday morning. It was one of your coffee hours, and I ran into them, and they said, heading down to that coffee hour, and I said, that's great that they're doing that and all. And then one guy said, yeah. He says, I need to go there. He says, I need to be with my peers. I need to talk. And he sort of stopped me in my tracks. True, it's amazing that the outreach you guys are doing, and people are really depending on you. Just that coffee hour on Mondays is a big thing for this particular individual.
It is.
And
it makes us feel good and we get positive feedback too. We get feedback from quite a few veterans that say we're doing more for them in our groups than when they go up to the VA. There's quite a few vets that choose to come to our group than go to the VA, because we're not, we're not structured. It's an open discussion. We're not on a timeline. So, there's times where our coffee hour starts at 10:30, and
they're there
usually wrap up until noon. But there's times where 1 o'clock we're still sitting there. So we don't cut anybody off. Right. As long as you're talking, we're talking, and we're very passionate about it. So we're not on a timeline, we're a time and structure. So I think that really helps. And we also service all veterans, regardless of a character of discharge they got, how long they served. And we look at it as if you serve one day, you raise your right hand, you're a veteran. So that also goes a long way.
I don't kind of Baltimore doing a veteran. Since I don't have to deal with that.
I did not see that. But I would love to attend it and even talk about our program if we have an opportunity. So that's all I have.
Wellness walks continue when the weather gets better, or
Yes, we're looking into making it more than wellness walks. We're really trying to hammer down some kind of program. And what we did last summer is we kind of were like, let's spread it around Greene County weekly. Let's do it at this park. Let's do it at this park. But we found that the information just isn't getting out. So where is it this week? So we're gonna work on it, making some kind of, like a set thing instead of spreading it around. So as much.
Well, we widened that path for you, so.
Yeah.
Right, Sean? We widened the path for him, the walking path.
But, yeah, I mean, that's all I have. I appreciate your time. I know how, sometimes it's a grind to be here up in the evening, and thank you for all you guys are doing, and thank you for the support, because without the support, then our job doesn't exist, so thank you.
Thank you very much. Do a lot.
Okay, we'll get into our resolution. Authorizing agreement between the Greene County Community Services Board and the Hudson Valley National Center for Veteran Reintegration and Budget Amendment. Hobart first, Blumer Handle second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried. Authorizing professional engineering services with Delaware Engineering, DTC, for structural evaluation of a structure, barn, located at 905 County Office Building, Mental Health.
Boomer.
Hobart.
And just a question for Sean on this. I don't disagree with what the idea is here, but $12,500 for an engineering study to be able to tell us whether we can or can't modify this barn. We were to put up a small shed like they were looking for. How much money was looking at that? Looking at to do that. I'm just wondering if we're not putting good money into a cause that's,
Well, you,
gonna be after the expense anyway.
the thought was before we construct this new in the floodplain, that could we use an existing building, and our New York State Building Code Enforcement Officer said that she would not authorize the existing barn for use for the Hudson Valley events without a structural evaluation.
But if we put up for them and lifted it and did all that stuff to get out of flood, what are we looking at in cost wise?
Well, what we found was option to relocate community services building, we needed to raise 4 to 6 feet. How big a barn? Is it 20 by 20, 40 by 40, 10 by 12? You gotta raise that DEC as part of the permitting application. So we kind of put it, like, a new idea on hold until we decided where the final location of the new community services building would be determined. And then to place it there.
Yeah.
Because we're gonna have a bigger construction project anyway. So this was really meant to be a stopgap.
Yeah,
The
no,
barn
I
is there, it's
understand that.
big enough, it's been there for, 100 years, but, change in use means you have to have it permitted, and our inspector said, no change in use without a certificate that says it's structurally sound.
So, Sean, on the chance that this gets a certificate to be able to be used, could the veterans improve the building as part of their?
It's an option, to tell you the truth, I haven't even got that far yet, Mike, to see if, part of their program be to remodel the place. I mean, conceptually,
That was,
Amanda,
that was part of the, support, before we even went down this path, the first process was I brought them out there and said, if this was able to be authorized to be rehabbed, is this something that you guys would be willing, one, to do the work, two, to pay for the work, and, there are some grants right now that they can apply for their programming to do that. And I said it didn't have to be, like, we weren't expecting a miracle with that building, just it's where it was safe and where they could do what they needed to do with the woodworking. And they were absolutely in agreement that as long as they could be close to the office, because the issue is that they're doing their services right there. They're only like one full-time person and one part-time person each day. It's difficult to be off-site someplace else and still run an office full-time. So, they needed to be close to proximity to the office space. And they agreed that they would furnish whatever needed to be done at the barn as long as it was okay to do so. So that was the last conversation we had, but again, we needed approval from the state in order to do that, so.
Yeah, I was just thinking this, this bill's gonna come back in around a $5,000 price tag, we came in at 12.5, I went, wow, are we just throwing this money away? But, okay, it is what it is. It's 3 years at least.
Still.
All
Sorry.
right, that's okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried. Authorizing agreement, Greene County Public Health, Blue Baltimore Animal Hospital rabies prevention.
Davis.
True.
It's gonna be all 3 years. Davis.
Davis, Randall, and True. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I think we missed one.
What?
He missed 30.
I missed 3. Yes, I did. I'm just trying to see if you were, wait, there was.
No
Josh,
No checks, here you go.
Yeah.
Lost control.
Authorizing agreement, Greene County Public Health and Critical Services Company,
Davis.
Chicken.
Inc. Davis. Hobart. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried. Authorizing conference attendance, Laura Churchill, BNP, FNP-BC, Greene County Public Health.
Lennon.
Lennon, Blumer. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried. Appointing members, Community Services Board. Hobart, Handle. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried. Appointing members, Greene County Public Health Department Medical Professional Advisory Committee, NPAC.
Lennon. True.
Lennon, True. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried. Authorizing agreement and budget amendment, Greene County Public Health Department and Health Research Inc., Medical Reserve Corps.
Davis.
Davis, Handle. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried. Budget amendment, Greene County Public Health Department Performance Incentive Initiative Award Year 11.
Davis.
Davis, Handle. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That is carried. Anything else to come before Health Services Committee this evening?
Motion closed.
Bloomer and True. Yeah, we are closed.
Thank you.
There goes half the room.
Yeah, really.
I only said you lost control.
No.
A lot of information.
Oh, thank you, Tanya. I'd like to call county resources to order at 6:53. We got 3 proposed action items before us this evening. These should be pretty easy ones. First one, we've got amending resolution number 338-23, authorizing the agreement between Greene County and the Columbia Greene Community College Foundation authorizing payment. This is just a fixer resolution.
Yes, housekeeping.
Yep.
Rivera.
Rivera, second.
Overblock.
True.
True.
And Overblock. Any discussion on this one? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Second one, reappointing member, Batavia Kill Watershed District Board, Mr. James Hitchcock. I need a motion on this.
Overblock.
Thornton and
Overblock.
Overblock and Lennon. Any discussion on this one? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. The third one's appointing member to the Columbia Greene Workforce Development Board.
Rivera's.
This is Amanda Karch, and she's representing the college, and I've got Rivera and Lucas. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Anything else coming before county resources?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to close on Thornton and seconded by Overbaugh. You're closed.
Mhm.
Man.
Oh, proud of yourself.
Jeez. No controversy.
He didn't let anybody speak, that's why.
Runs a tight ship.
Good evening, everybody. I'd like to open up the
Control,
Public
Charlie.
Safety Committee meeting at 6:55 PM. We have several proposed action items, but before we get into that, we have John Farrell from the 911 Center.
Evening all.
John?
First thing, I'll give you the numbers from last month. EMS calls, 566. Fire calls, 207. Police, 1,394. Unknown, 584, with a total of 2,711. Within the inbound phone calls into the 911 center is 3,106. Mutual aid for EMS is 28, and fire mutual aid was 9. Hazmat team was 0 last month, and the Give It team had 1 call in the town of Athens. I'm sure many of you have seen it in the paper. Starting September of this year, PFO will be offered to all the 6 school districts in Greene and also in Columbia. Most important is I'll be reaching out to the guidance counselor in each school district to make sure that documentation and so forth is being passed out to the students. And also next week at the Fire Advisory Board, I'll be putting that in my report and also sending a notice out. And I am responding as well to try to get as many students getting ready to sign up for September. On top of that, PFO class is starting in 2 weeks. The average that came before for the training in the past 3 years, our last class was in 2022. We had a struggle just to get to 10 students. This year, the state is going to pay the students at the end of the course and proof that they passed. They will start to get a stipend of $750. My class right now is jam full of 25 students. And hopefully this is a sign that we're going to get more firefighters. It takes about roughly 4 months to complete that class. And hopefully in the fall, they'll move forward to interior firefighting. And at the end of that course, they'll be getting $1,250. So hopefully this is a gateway to get manpower to the county.
Is there a time requirement that they have to show?
No, just as long as they're underneath the jurisdiction of a fire department, fire district. And anybody that takes any of these type of courses from, I believe it was May 31st of last year, they'll get documented. There is a tremendous amount of paperwork that the fire chief has to fill out, obviously. But overall, it's, I think it's a great program, and hopefully it'll improve bringing more manpower in.
So are they sponsored by a fire company, John?
All of them have to. Yes. Okay. Yep. So, my next topic is in regard to the battery energy storage facility here in Catskill. I spent this past month reviewing emergency plans for that location. I also had the opportunity to reach out to several different folks. First was New York State Homeland Security up in Albany to talk about the 3 accidents that they had last year in Jefferson County, Orange County, and I think Suffolk. And then from that point, I reached out to some fire coordinators in the Hudson Valley region. Last Thursday, Warren Hart and I had the opportunity to meet with Assistant Chief Ed Dolan, Paul Rogers from the Energy Safety Response Group, and also Justin Adams, who represents the firm that was planning to build that facility. Paul Rogers, during our conversation last, had stated that he was appointed by the governor to be on the Interagency Fire Safety Working Group. But from talking to OFPC, obviously, in the fire service, we don't have a playbook. This so-called facility, we have just a couple of years of it, so we're still learning. And the one thing I did from reading all the rules and regs This past week, I read on the US codes and standards. They are making a lot of changes to improve the batteries into those facilities. And what was mentioned to us last Thursday was that some of these batteries are trying, you know, if you look up in Jefferson County, they were there for 5 days. So what they're trying to do with the technology is trying to, if these batteries catch on fire, to try to, so they burn out faster, 3 to 6 hours or even 12 hours. So the most important part, talking to Ed Dolan and myself, was first that, and obviously this facility, if the local planning board approves it, would take 2 years to build. So during those 2 years, Eddie and I were talking about that we would continue to work on the emergency service with emergency service together to review and continue to update the emergency plan. This would also include our comprehensive emergency management plan, the evacuation plan, infrastructure plan, and the hazardous materials that Dan works on continuously. The annual training that Catskill Fire, which they already got from Paul Rogers, would come every year annually. And of course, the mutual aid companies would be included as well. And the procedure that would happen if there was a fire at one of these locations is the fact that it would, that the fire company would set up a hot zone, a command post, a staging area. And if there is smoke, the only way that you can handle that is by placing a water fog and operational control of smoke. Now, of course, emergency management was constantly on the phone with the National Weather Service regarding the weather and the wind. One thing that did come out of the meeting is that obviously the governor's working group, their first committee report hasn't come out yet. I'll be very interested. I was told it was going to come out, I think it was in the spring, right, Warren, that they had mentioned. So in my responsibilities, along with Dan, it's our responsibility to work with the leadership within the jurisdiction to make sure that all necessary training be offered and the emergency plans are maintained to the highest level to meet the risk factors of these facilities. And it basically comes down to education, training. And Warren, I don't know if you have anything you'd like to add that, you know, that.
Sure, I'll reinforce that it's a local decision from the Catskill Planning Board. They sent their required 239 referral to the county planning board. I reached out to John so that we could do a coordinated review to look at this. It's a new technology and it is a 100 megawatt facility. It's a big project for any county. So I wrote a letter to the Catskill Planning Board asking them for an extension so that we could have time to review the application, have John look at it from the fire service standpoint. We asked them to give us an extension and to not make any decision and to hold the public hearing open, which they've agreed to do. I gave them preliminary comments and recommendations until we've had a chance to formalize what our final comments would be. So those would be due in the next couple of weeks, assuming we don't ask for additional information.
When's the public hearing?
They did have a public hearing. I read it in the paper, and our comments were timed so that they had their comments at the public hearing so that they wouldn't close it. I read in the paper that there was a considerable turnout and a lot of questions from the residents about what the impact might be.
Where is the proposed location?
It's going to be right where Post Brothers. I believe it's about 18 acres.
Oh, to feed into the grid there? Yeah.
But that's all for New York City, though. There's no advantage to any of our constituents. It's more of a nuisance and a danger to us than we get no benefit.
Put it in here. Well, number one, the way the state is going, I think these are going to be popping up all over. I know there's, one other location, that's being reviewed in another town. So, as Eddie and I had discussed, fire service, we're used to be ready for what's in our jurisdiction. The only thing that I will say about the planning board at Catskill, they've been talking about this for about 2 years. And I know I have received a letter back then about this facility. And I have to say that the planning board of Catskill got everybody involved, even in the fire service. Most towns don't do that. The fire service leadership into those meetings. I can't say enough about it, but as we move forward, we're in the emergency service. We're not here to make a decision as it come and go, but we're planning on being prepared.
But you do have a responsibility to the people you represent, meaning the firefighters, to express your opinion as to whether you think this is a good idea or not, because I can tell you when they proposed it to the town of Hunter, we said no way, because, and they came in and said, we'll educate your firefighters, we will give you all the equipment you need, no problem. That's all good and dandy until the thing goes on fire. And and then there's a problem. I mean.
I fully understand, and I looked at, when we had problems, 23 years ago with the Athens Gen plant, and we had a fire there. Yes, we had training, we received everything. In this situation, I would certainly, if we had to, I wouldn't hesitate at all to bring in the state to assist us, because I believe, except for Suffolk County, state OFPC did go to Orange County, and they also went to Jefferson County for those 2 incidents. I believe it took almost 4 or 5 days. But I have to say, and I don't know the gentleman that we talked to, Rogers there. He's very good. He's a retired New York City firefighter and working for his firm, but very knowledgeable. But the bottom line is you have to look at both sides. And I agree your input. At the same token, I would have to work with Catskill to make sure that.
No, if it goes through, you definitely have a responsibility,
Absolutely.
but you also gotta remember, as a legislative body that we sit here, the firefighters have some protection, but what about the people who live around it? You got all this smoke, hazardous chemicals, you see the train derailed down in, where was it, Pennsylvania or whatever? They had to evacuate the whole town, and people are suffering from it now. I mean, this is gonna be a problem. It's no benefit to anybody in this county.
I would add that I did ask the owner his tax status. And we kind of hedged a little bit, but we talked about a pilot, and then I followed up with Ray Ward. So this is an activity that would be regulated like solar, where it's exempt, but they have to notify the county. And then the county says, you want a pilot. So we would go down that path if the company receives their local land use, they would have to notify us and negotiate a pilot like we do with solar. So that law applies not only to generation of energy, but storage of energy. This is a battery storage facility.
So John, just so I have this right, being a Catskill resident, there's no putting the fire out. The fire's gotta burn out on its own.
Gotta let it burn.
You gotta let it burn.
Is there suppression within the?
And so you're only trying to suppress the smoke a little bit.
That's right, with the fire, that's all you can do.
So the planning board is aware of this, Paul?
I have never, I would think, I know Eddie Dolan did go before the board at the last public engagement.
Understood.
Where's the closest residence down there, John?
I would have to say probably Strawberry Lane.
So how far is that? Half mile?
Prevailing wind takes it right into the village of Catskill.
Pretty close.
You'd be smelling it right here.
That's cool.
I mean, it's the thermal runaway that you
Well,
got.
good questions.
That's the concern, once that starts.
I just wanna make sure the planning board is aware of all this because
Yeah, really.
these are pretty important factors.
They are, and
Consideration.
Delaware Engineering is under contract with the town of Catskill Planning Board. So whenever an application comes in, the applicant pays a fee, it goes into retainer, and they use one of the planners from Delaware. And they have done extensive review of this application and over a long period of time with Catskill. So the Catskill Planning Board, I read a stack of documentation this big that they've been reviewing at multiple meetings with this company. As John said, the technology is new. It's hard to model potential impacts of a facility that might catch on fire. No one knows how many units might.
So
take off
how
at
new
one
is this
period.
technology? You said there's already been 3 fires in 3 different counties. So how many total facilities are there? And we know that 3 out of what, are there 25 of them?
3.
3? I don't know. 100%.
I don't know, Mike, how many there are in the state at this time. But, you know, I thought, that's why I reached out to the Office of Fire Prevention and Control.
This project has 100. Don't hold me to the exact number, but it's about 130.
137.
137, and then each one has a converter next to it. And each one is designed to be self-contained. First, the batteries don't catch on fire, they start emitting gases, and there's sensors in there to alert through an app that one of those units, and then it's automatically shut down. And there's vents and sensors. It catches on fire, it's designed to limit one box separate from the next box, separate from the next box. But
You asked how new this
what
is.
guarantee is how that would be
Right.
configured?
I was on Hunter's Town Board at the time when this was a new technology. That was only 2.5 years ago. So you're only talking a handful of years this is coming around.
And this is all for New York City,
Yeah,
all for the city.
Goes into the grid.
it goes for brownouts. If there's a brownout, the power goes from these batteries down to the city to run the city. That's, other than the money you're making off in taxes, we're taking a big risk.
It's metered by ISO like any other energy company that puts power into the grid.
Yeah, Warren kind of touched on it here, we talked about this a month or so ago when Rick brought it up. But is there really anything that the county legislature can do to put a moratorium to this, to put a stop to it, before, to get a better understanding on it, or to find out if we're even prepared anywhere in any town to handle one of these thermal runaways? Is this a local decision only, and we're kind of tied?
To what I've read, and I've done a lot of reading and reaching out to Warren, and it's still just a local decision. by the
It's land manager. Yeah, and that's how.
I know there was some concerns about, you know, we don't have that many volunteers, and something goes on. The only thing I can tell you is throughout the whole county of Greene, there's a structure fire just in this village here alone. There's already automatic mutual, and most of the fire companies are doing that now.
Yeah.
You know, just to make sure we have enough manpower to respond.
You remember the tire fire? You thought that was bad. One of these things goes on fire, you're 100 times worse.
Well, I mean, my systems at work have halon. Some of our computer systems will have halon, and you know, that basically cuts the oxygen, expensive chemical halon.
That explains.
It takes the oxygen away. You've got seconds to get out of that when that thing, when the alarm goes off. So I'm assuming it's gotta be some type of similar system that sits inside these transformers.
And there's all kinds of.
Take the oxygen away.
There's all kinds of system where as soon as any type of smell, it goes to the control center, something like that. But, you know,
Yeah, but some of these things, this is a chemical fire. It doesn't need oxygen. It's just like, you know, when you weld underwater and stuff. This is how that works. You can take all the oxygen out of the room and you want, and this battery is still gonna be combustible and burn up. It's all a chemical reaction.
And I did reach out to the PSC. one of their attorneys confirmed that it's a local decision by the planning board. It's not regulated under Article 10 for now.
This is the next evolution of, first the solar fields, and now it'll be storage as fossil fuels continue to get pushed off.
But you could send we could send a letter of concern to the planning board saying, this are our concerns.
I'll share the letter that I wrote to the planning board with those issues.
I was gonna say that should come from the county planning board.
Well,
We've already done this.
I mean, the towns or counties can pull a moratorium, but that's only 6 months. In some cases, you can extend it another 6 months, but that's it.
Well, I think the town can, I don't even know that the
Yeah.
county can.
I think the county of Schenectady did.
I read that the Schenectady legislature discussed it multiple times. John's counterpart came and addressed the board. I don't know, I don't believe they put in place a moratorium, but they were asking the question, what would be the purpose? What kind of remedy would there be? What kind of control would we have as a legislature? What would we do during a moratorium? When a town puts a moratorium in place, they follow a prescribed procedure about adopting a regulation, a law. I'm not sure that that's what the action of the legislature would be.
I did reach out to Schenectady, and today I called up there, the fire coordinator Pike, who was doing all the work with, he had retired, so I don't know if this job here forced him for retirement or what, but that new guy needed nothing, so I didn't, he gave me some advice, but I was looking for what steps did the legislators take, if any, or did it go back to the planning board? So I couldn't get any information on that. So just moving on, in regard to your agenda, number 5, 6, 7, that's just a budget amendments, moving from line 0.4 to 2. I just my last thing I wanted to bring up, because I know always being questioned. It's in regard to our situation at 911 Center. Currently, with dispatchers, we have 10 FTEs. We have one trainee completing training on March 1st, who will be assigned to a shift. We have 2 trainees in positions, which will take 6 months to finish. And we have 4 part-timers, thank God, filling in where we need, where the open spots are. And we currently have 3 open positions, which between Dan, myself, and Jimmy will be working, and thank God the health program is still in line, so we'll be moving forward to fill those positions. Dan, you have anything you'd like to say? You sure? I told you not to be quiet.
As usual.
Loss of words.
It's getting late.
Sean, you have anything under EMS? Okay. Any questions further? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up tonight, we have Sheriff Kuzminski.
Yeah. Good evening, everybody. So for last month, we had 37 civil attempts, served 17 civil papers, issued 181 traffic tickets, investigated 31 traffic accidents, made 47 arrests, no DWI arrests last month. We handled 542 calls for service and made 286 traffic stops. On January 1st, the starting jail population was 27. As of January 31st, it was 31, the higher for the month being 32. Corrections officers did 29 transports, traveling 668 miles, totaling 60 hours, moving 34 inmates. We have no state-ready inmates in our custody. Corrections Division accreditation assessment is scheduled for February 21st and 22nd. Thanks to Superintendent O'Boy and Officer Scully, did a great job preparing for that. We did lose our Director of Community Wellness. She left for a higher paying position closer to home. So we're currently looking to post to replace her. We had several great cases this past month, two of which were fires. In the first one, Sergeant Ray Femmel and Deputy Ryan Schrader were dispatched to a reported structure fire in Carroll. Upon their arrival, they cleared the home and found that the fire was contained to the basement. When the first fire truck arrived, they pulled a hose line and entered the basement, where they were able to knock the fire down until they were relieved by responding Carroll firefighters. So their actions helped save that home. The second one, you might have seen on the news last night and this morning, occurred where Deputy Joe Caputo Jr. Was on routine patrol on Route 9W in Coxsackie when he observed smoke coming from a house. As he got closer, he noticed that the front porch was on fire. He used a fire extinguisher from his patrol car to extinguish the flames, which started to burn up the siding. His actions clearly saved the occupant from potentially losing her home, as well as the dog and the cat that were inside the home when this occurred. Great cases. Additionally, we responded to a reported domestic in Greenville involving a shooting. On the deputy's arrival to that one, they discovered a wounded female victim outside the residence who was unable to walk, suffering from a gunshot wound to her upper thigh and pelvic area. Sergeant Sean Marriott applied a tourniquet and carried her to a patrol car, which then drove her to an awaiting helicopter to be airlifted to Albany Medical Center. At Albany Med, it was necessary to put her in emergency surgery to treat her internal injuries from the gunshot. The deputies at the scene, along with state police, established a perimeter, and as the alleged perpetrator was still inside and armed. Deputy Ryan Schrader engaged the suspect and was able to convince him to surrender without further incident. That subject was charged with attempted murder and is currently in our jail awaiting further court proceedings. It's just a couple examples of the outstanding work our deputies are doing every day to keep our communities safe. Just wanted to bring that to you.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations, Sheriff.
Any word on any update on the dog that was shot?
I know there's been a lot of media coverage about it. After talking to the state police, they do have a potential lead or two. I don't know if they're any closer to actually making an arrest on it.
All right, thank you.
No.
That was good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Tom.
Okay, on the proposed action items, resolution, authorizing a contract, Greene County CSEA Unit 702, Public Safety Unit. Handle for a motion, second by Davis. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Next. Next action item is authorizing the purchase of one new 2023 Jeep Grand Cherokee. Martinez. Lennon. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Next resolution, authorizing the purchase of 5 new 2024 Dodge Durangos.
Lennon.
And second? Dorrington. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Appointing members to the Greene County Fire Advisory Board. Handle, I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Next up, reappointing and appointing members of the Greene County Traffic Safety Board. Davis, Handle, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Next, budget amendment, Greene County Emergency Services Capital Project 122-2021 State Homeland Security Grant. Martinez, I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Next, budget amendment, Emergency Services Capital Project number 138-2020 Statewide Interoperable Communications Grant. Dorrington. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Next one, budget amendment, Greene County Emergency Services Capital Project number 135-2021 Statewide Interoperable Communications. Martinez. Lennon. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Anything else to come before public safety?
I'd like to get a motion to go into executive session for personnel matters.
Makes sense.
Hang on, please. Who was the second?
Village.